All right, guys. Well, we are here today with Michael Caldwell. He is with Urban Services. We're going to be talking about just resources and really the importance of our vendors in this market space when it comes to, you know, our investment properties. Now we're buying, I know we have 133 that we'll be closing on in the next month or so, less than a month. We have another 334 in the pipeline in the Dallas area. Michael, welcome, because I know you are a valid resource to people like us.
Thank you very much, and we certainly appreciate the opportunity to be a part of your network, or at least look and see what we can do to service the future of what you guys are trying to do, and I think it's very exciting.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can't wait to hear your story and how you joined Urban and then where Urban is today with the resources that you guys have make our life easier, right? So why don't you kick us off here?
Well, going back to when I was a child, I always was one of those that liked to build things with my hands. I get that from my grandfather. So, I was a carpenter's apprentice when I was in high school, and then went to college and was always doing something local to make, on the summer times to make money with different companies. But I ended up at Urban after a career with one of the big manufacturing companies here in the U.S. and really I've just invested the last 12 months. It's been a year now that I've been with this company, and my job is building the brand. We were started by two installers back 23 years ago in California. And these gentlemen, just decided one day that being on your knees all your life is not the best thing in the world for as you get older. So they started going to China looking for opportunities to bring something here that was a little different. They had cleaned carpet, they had done some different things, and we're actually one of the first teams, if not the first, to ever bring LVP into the United States. And so, this is what we do. And I tell people a lot of times, I know a lot of people respect the job that Chick-fil-A does as a company. They're very focused in their market. They do a great job at their marketing. They do a tremendous job with service. And I really believe that that's what Urban is in the LVP industry. We do one thing and we do it really, really well. And that is we make LVP, we make the accessories, we think about all the little things that matter. And then we service the heck out of people, trying to make sure that your needs are met in ways that sometimes when you get much bigger, you can't do it. And Jana, here's one thing that's really interesting. A lot of times we see companies that are in a space, and it may not be flooring, it can be in a lot of places. Restaurants deal with this a lot because they don't just make hamburgers, they have to do chicken and tacos and everything else. And so usually they have one or two dishes that they're really, really good at.
Right.
Right. But they try to be all things to all people. And so a lot of the big manufacturing companies in this space are the same way. They began as something else. But because LVP has grown so massively in acceptance in the market, they've all kind of gotten into it out of necessity, and they're not necessarily experts at it. All I can tell you is our entire team, all 60 plus employees, and the entire history of our company is dedicated into that space. We specialize in it. We do it extremely well, and we're very geared towards projects like what you guys do, which is important because we can color match things, we can do specialty items, we can do things like that. And we'll get into that. But it really is a difference maker when you can service. So what we say to people all the time, and I want your team to hear this, we are a best in class service company that just happens to make a first class flooring product. Yes. So, that way we want you to understand our goal is not just to be transactional. We want to be relational with your people.
That's so good. That is great. And you talk about the Chick-fil-A experience and being able, to not only on time, on budget, but with the smile, right? And so that's the biggest thing that I think when we're talking volume projects, which you guys, can do nationally, that's huge.
Well, and think about this. If you go to Chick-fil-A in Georgia, or you go to Chick-fil-A in North Carolina, or you go to Chick-fil-A in Texas, you get the same experience. Mm-hmm. You know what you're getting, you know what the food quality is, you know what kind of service you're going to get. You know how their marketing goes. I mean, the whole deal. I love driving down the highway and looking for a Chick-fil-A poster because, or a billboard, because they have such creative marketing. But my point is that we want to strive to be that same way. I don't care where your project is, if it's in San Antonio, Dallas, Denver, Columbus, Jacksonville, Florida, it doesn't really matter. You're going to get the same experience with us too. And that's what's really important to us, is that we service those projects in a way that you would expect, just like you were if you were in your hometown.
Mm-hmm. Well, you think about luxury vinyl, and so now when it comes to like the flooring that is in, for instance, us multifamily apartments, we have to come in, we assume owner or take over the property. We have tenants active all over the buildings, and now we're like, okay, this is value add. We need to, as these units turn, or which is it makes the most sense. They have furniture everywhere, right? So as they turn, now we're going to go into this 1,000 square feet. We're going to just change it all out, the flooring out, and so how does that work then? Whenever we are turning over these units, kind of an assembly line process.
Well, that's a great question, because have you ever seen a project where you go in and you're taking a look at it and you're thinking about, well, I think I'm going to invest in this property. And then you go in and there's 30 different floor coverings and 10 different countertops and whatever, because over the course of time, whoever managed that property did not do a good job with the subcontractors in specifying and really outlining what it is they wanted to use and keeping some consistency and some control over the look and quality that's within the complex. We see this all the time. So what we want to do is partner with your people. So because we're the manufacturer, we don't actually install it. But what we have is a network of vendor partners across the United States that can go anywhere in the country and do these installations. And they're, we have recently branched from the West Coast to the East Coast because of this, because our partners were moving into areas that, and as companies get purchased or they buy into another area. And so we've kind of gone with that. And that's what I was hired to do. And so I'm building this brand on the East Coast, which is a great privilege and an honor to do, representing the entire history of our company and all the people who are employed here. But we understand that for you, and especially in a property, whether you're going to keep it 3 years or 30, it's not the point. The point is there's an expectation now in the market for what people need to get. And oftentimes that's misrepresented, or it's left up to the subcontractor to go and find whatever they can find in a local hardware store and then just throw it on the floor. We don't really want that to happen. What we want to do is present an opportunity for your investment, for you as an investor. Here's what we want to use. Here's the colors you can choose from. We have the moldings. If you have an interior stairs, we have stair treads to match. We can do the sound. We can do the glue. We can do everything that's tailor made. It's going to add value to your property. We can do it in a market competitive situation. But then we have the installation crews that we have trained that know how to put it in and know how to put it in right, and are experts at doing these turns or at whole project renovations. So that's really not an issue when it comes down to it. The big issue is choosing the right product, and then that's a discussion of a different level.
Yes, absolutely. And I mentioned, I think our last conversation, I was literally talking to a broker who, whenever it's time to sell these big mammoth apartment complexes, 30, 50, $100 million, right? That it actually, they said they devalue the property. They devalue the asset because of the interiors, and if they have just what you're saying, there's not a lot of symmetry, there's mismatch. No one wants to take over. I don't want to buy a property unless I'm getting a really good deal, because that is mismanagement. Yes. And when it comes to the turn right, we've got to have the turns, and we want every apartment to look the same as much as possible, because you think about this as a tenant. Now you're coming in, you're wanting to rent an apartment. You sure don't want to say, be able to have the leasing officer say, well, we have 5 different units, 5 different floorings, and you're like, okay, well, I want the one that everybody else wants. The other 4 are terrible, you know? So it
Right.
literally devalues the property whenever these owners or operators do not do exactly what you're saying.
Well, and I'll add this to that. First of all, when as a tenant, if you walk into an apartment that looks like it's just been thrown together, you immediately start wondering what else has been thrown together,
Right.
right? So, if you see shoddy work on the walls or you see shoddy work on the floor, then you think, well, maybe this is not a very good apartment to rent. And that's certainly not a conversation you want to have. But on the other side, dealing with the LVPs, a lot of companies can't color match the moldings or the stairs or whatever. And so you end up with with collaborating colors or coordinating colors, and so you don't get consistency throughout. What we love to see inside of an apartment complex, we have a line called Studio 12, for example. It's a 12 mil LVP product, got all the bells and whistles, but there's 12 colors. A lot of times an apartment complex will come in and they'll color palette around 2 or maybe 3 of those plank colors, and then they can build out their cabinets and countertops and their coordinating stuff inside those, so that you have a little bit of variety inside, but it's all extremely consistent in terms of the quality and the overall appearance. And therefore a client coming in may want a gray or maybe wants a little bit more brown or whatever, and they have an option, which is always a great thing because we all have a little bit different flavor.
Yeah, absolutely. I know the one that we're taking over, the 133 units. I think I was mentioning this to you. We walked during due diligence and we didn't see two or three options. We saw 30 options, right? Like they did. They ran
Right.
down to the big box store and whatever's on sale and let's throw it in. And it will definitely devalue. And then you get, 5 to 7 to 10 years, we're now having to update some key color schemes and all of that. So when you say 12, right? You said your Studio 12, it's like, what are the best products, the ones that we feel like no one's going to have a problem with the color scheme for the next X number of years
Right.
because, that's something that we want to do is really great selections.
Well, for us too, being a California-based company, you may not know this, but color trends in the U.S. start in California and they move west. So a lot of times the East Coast is 2 or 3 years behind the West Coast in terms of color trends, which is kind of interesting. But the grays and whatever. So like our Studio 12 book, I get a lot of compliments off of it because it's color phased. So it starts at one spectrum and graduates all the way through to the dark spectrum on the right. So you can get a real flow of what your eye, and people inevitably will go to 2 or 3 of those colors based on the color palette that's most appealing to them.
That's so
But
good.
one thing that we see a lot too, Jen, is that a lot of times you're talking about seeing 30 different floor coverings inside of a property. Imagine what that installer did underneath that floor. We see where, they are just trying to get in and get out. And so they grab whatever adhesive they can find, or maybe they've got 2 or 3 different manufacturers in their truck that they've had left over from different jobs, and they throw it on the floor. And whether it works or not, they don't really care because, you're just getting them in, getting them out. That's another aspect of it that we find extremely difficult, because now when you have problems and now that tenant's in there, and like you mentioned earlier, you got furniture everywhere and you got to go in and fix it. It's no fun. So, we work with one of the premier adhesive companies in North America that makes a very high end, very good quality adhesive to go underneath a lot of these. We work with a company called Vinaclausen and Associates out of California. They're the oldest sound engineering firm in North America, and they do work all over the world. But we have our products tested to a standard, because listen, nobody wants to hear that clicking noise over your head in the middle of the night, right, from the neighbor above you or whatever. So there's a lot of things that we do in detail that, excuse me, may or may not come into play, um, for a particular project, but we have those things available. That's the service aspect that says, hey, if we need this, do you have it? Yes, we do. And we're more than willing to train. We do training classes for installers. We do all that kind of stuff. We we get big projects all the time. And one of them that we did recently is 500,000 square feet of material. The last thing anybody wants is to see that go in incorrectly. So we actually did a training class for the installers before the project started so that they knew exactly what was expected and how to do it correctly. And, it's just that kind of service that makes a difference.
I love it. And you mentioned, the not only the product, not only the testing, not only the training, when it comes to just the getting on site and an owner operator or an owner investor, now we take over and we're like, oh, well, this has carpet upstairs because it's upstairs, because they don't want to hear the clicking. Does this mean that I need to go back with carpet? Most people would say yes, but what you're telling me is because of the product, because of your installers, we can get rid of the carpet.
You can, yes. The underlayments are extremely important. The boost and the sound silencer, there's different product names for it that goes underneath that controls the flow of that noise. So John Laverty, who is the head of Vena Closet, he actually wrote like 9 of the 12 ASTM standards in the multifamily industry, which are used for testing and what have you. And John has now developed the some of your people may have heard of IIC. There's an IIC rating, which is a noise rating for materials. And most material can fall somewhere within the IIC rating because it's so broad, for example. If you think of it from 0 to 3,000, most products are going to fall in there somewhere. John's actually gone one step further now. And if you look at our products, you'll find that there's an LIIC and an HIIC rating on our products, on our spec pages. And by the way, if your people want to look at urbanservices.com and go to our, let's say, Studio 12 product, and they pick a color, there's a little box that says view details. And when they click on that, every aspect of our product that you could possibly want to know is on that page. You can get samples, you can get spec pages, you can get warranty, you can get detailed information on anything. We want to have it at your fingertips. But my point is that John developed 2 new ratings called the LIIC and the HIIC. And the L obviously stands for low and the H is for high, because within the audible range of human hearing, there are 2 specific ranges of frequencies that are aggravating to people that live in a complex where that noise can come through the walls or the ceiling. So obviously low being the thumping noises, maybe it's the kids rolling around upstairs or whatever, and the H being ladies' high heels, dog nails on the floor, that kind of thing. So we actually do that testing and have products that mitigate that sound so that it controls it in environments. And then a product like Studio 12 has the ability to be glued on the first floor, but float on the second floor. So it can go either direction. So you put that sound underlayment under that floating aspect upstairs, and you can take the carpet out, have a floating floor that's over a sound deadening barrier, and now you have a living space that's a lot more accommodating.
I love that. I love it, because we know that the flooring can have a longer life, no doubt about it. And most people prefer it. They can put their area rugs on and still get that carpet feel, and still the deadening of the sound is needed, and the warmth. So it's just been amazing. I know you were at our last conference, ConnectCon. You guys were there. So many people will recognize you guys in your booth there. And it's what we love is to be able to partner with people that have have that national reach, because we may go into Atlanta, down to Florida where we are right now, and there's just our investors are everywhere. So you guys have given us, even though you are the manufacturer, you've given us a one-stop solution, because you've now partnered with those installers and they're doing it right. You're making sure that they know how to do it. So what are the savings? We know that people like good, cheap, and fast. So now when it comes to this, because now you add quality and value, right, to this, so talk about that. The elephant in the room. What is this going to cost people? And I know you probably have the variable product lines, but go ahead and announce, talk about that.
Well, that's a slippery slope, obviously, because when you start talking about cost, there's some relevance based on what material you're buying in the LVP market.
Right.
There's 6, there's 8, there's 12, there's 20, there's 28. Now people are starting to play with that number. And those, by the way, those numbers represent the millage on the finish layer of the product. Okay. It's the film that protects the picture. Let's put it that way. It's kind of like the glass on the portrait hanging on the wall at your house.
Yes.
How thick is it? Right. And so when you start talking about the differences in those millages, it's really minuscule. I mean, we're talking like 0.0086 inches or something. I mean, it's really, really tiny, less than a fingernail width, right? So what people have to understand is oftentimes marketing tries to oversell what that importance is to the floor. There's a lot of companies that'll say, well, we have a 6 millimeter product. Well, is that a 5 millimeter body and finish with a 1 millimeter pad? Is that a 4.5 with a 1.5 pad? Is that a 4 with a 2 millimeter pad? Right. So they play with that thickness number, making you feel like you're getting more than what you actually are. Again, transparency being what it is, we don't like to go down that road. We're going to build a quality product. Is it 2 cents more than the one you might be able to pick up at Lowe's? Maybe, but then if you compare the specs, what are you getting? So, is longevity important to you? Is the ability to do turns without replacing it important to you? Those types of things. And then installation is the same way, Janet. You can get something thrown on the floor by anybody at any moment, and good luck getting them to come back. I will tell you that one of the things we're very prideful about is that our installation companies, that we don't benefit at all. We just partner with, because we trust that they're going to put our products on the floor, and we need them to do that well, because we want people to see the quality that we're bringing to the table, but it has to be put in by somebody that's quality. And that's what we bring to the table in dealing with them. And these are companies that do $750 million a year in annual business all over the United States. And so they're very good at what they do. They're very timely at what they do, and they're very adept at what they're doing. So your decision in your company has to be, do I want a 6 mil, which is the lowest, that you can put on the floor? Is the 8 mil important, or do I go ahead and do a 12 that's got a little bit better, appearance and life expectancy on it? Do I want a 20 mil? Is this a high end, more high end townhome type product where maybe a 20 mil is warranted? And then you got a decision to make. Is it glue down? Is it going to be floating? How are we going to do that? And that's really a conversation that has a lot of movement in it, because you will always find products on the market that somebody says, oh, well, I can get this for such and such. Well, here's what's happening a lot right now. Companies are dumping products on the market. They have maybe over inventory, or, a lot of companies are pulling out of China. So they're getting rid of their China inventory because people aren't having stuff manufactured there like they were. Urban Services has nothing made in China, which we're really proud of. And so, we don't have to deal with that, but we do have to deal with, the quick hits by people that are, bringing material in, and then you don't know how it's manufactured. Yeah. We control ours. I am proud to say that. I may not always be the cheapest, but I will always be, we'll always stand behind it.
Oh, I love it. And so if we're looking then at, from someone like me, right? Okay, we take over this 133 units. We're ready to go in and work with you guys. So that, like, the couple of easy steps would be, go to the website, and we're probably, like you said, selecting on our Studio 12 product, and then you guys are going to be asking us, okay, what's the millage? How thick do you want this? And then what's your color scheme? And here's your price point, right? I mean, is that basically kind of the key steps?
So show that screen back up there,
Okay.
And in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see 3 little bars. And when you touch that, that first thing that says flooring products, if you hit that plus sign, Now you've got the option of what type of flooring do I want. And Studio 12 is right there, either floating or glue down. So let's
Yep.
pick the glue down.
Okay. Got it.
Now when you scroll that picture up, you're going to get all your colors that you can start looking at. And then the minute you touch one of them, you're going to be able to select. You see where it says view details? Just pick one of those that says on the bar, it says view details. And all of a sudden that's going to go to a new page that is now going to have all of the questions that you just asked me. See, even right there, they can order a sample right there on that picture. There's a little green box there that says, right. But now there comes all of your spec details. And if you keep going down, you're going to see the sizes of the planks. You're going to see the warranty. You're going to see all the resources. Everything's right there. And so all of those questions that you just asked me are going to be easy for them to answer. And that's the great thing about it. Even shows you, Studio 12 has a stair, has matching stair treads, the whole deal. So
yes, love that.
And that's the beautiful part of it.
And look at that video, even because what if we do have our installers that do want to, we've worked with for years or whatever, is that even an option? We order, and then, they can watch video or you guys can work with them. And then, we feel comfortable all about moving forward. Is that an option?
Absolutely. Typically a unit's going to be about 1,000 square feet, give or take, right? And so pallets are designed that way. Most of those pallets are about 1,000 to 1,100 square feet of material. Okay. So, and that's where especially in a project where you've specified a couple of different colors, and that's the colors that are available for that. Even if you have to change installers, or if you're using your own, if you have a few boxes that roll over, now you have some repair material on site, but you also have the ability to take that to the next job. If you needed an extra box here or there, or you got in and made a mistake and had to tear it out, that kind of stuff. So it makes it very simple. The consistency of that across the country is what's really important to a group like yours too, because you know what it is you're getting.
Absolutely. And so you're saying we order them by the pallet, which makes it super simple.
Pallet, truck, or container. If you need.
So how big the project is.
Exactly.
We can do that. And then as far as the anticipation of when product's going to arrive, you guys will let us know, hey, we got this in stock, this, that, the other, and then you guys can give us that timeline.
Yeah. So typically, because we're project oriented, we're not driven by retail sales. So, I don't have inventory that's geared for Home Depot and Lowe's and all that. That's not our game, right? We want to service situations like yours where we're a project driven company. So, typically 3 to 5 days, I can have a truck or a pallet to your location with anywhere. If it's on the East Coast in the North, maybe it's a day. If it's in California, it's certainly a day. But for the most part, 3 days is pretty common. 3 to 5 would be pretty common to have. Your projects are not going to be that quick. You're going to know, if you're going to come in and renovate a project as you start to rent it out, you're going to know a lot of times. Or even if you're building a new one, a lot of times we get 6, 8, 12 months lead time. That's an interesting prospect because we have the ability to custom make an item. We don't necessarily advertise that, but we've had that situation before where we needed to. And with that kind of lead time, it makes it makes it a much more palatable process for us to be able to try to do something special for a project if that's the intent. But most of the time people find a color palette within the range that we have, and we just redid our colors. We do it every so many so many months or years, say 18 to 24 months, we retool those color palettes, and so we just redid a color palette recently, and they're beautiful. And we have a new product line coming out that's going to be laminate too. And people think laminate. I didn't think laminates were popular. They're getting very popular again because the way that the prints are put onto the boards, the print film on laminate is so much more detailed than it is on vinyl because it's actually printed. So that's a big category that's coming back, and we're working on some stuff for that as well for the future.
Okay. And so a couple things that you mentioned that I thought of is shipping. I also thought of if you guys are updating your palette colors, and I ordered something a year ago because you guys can color match, or I don't have to worry about it running out of stock necessarily. So those are some things that, may be a question. I'm trying to anticipate questions. So you guys just let us know shipping. Obviously, if we can bulk ship some things, that might save us on some shipping, correct?
Well, pretty easy here. I'm going to tell you right now what your shipping is. So in pallets, truckloads, and containers, we have a flat rate shipping. So it's a nickel on the glue down product and it's 10 cents on the floating product
Okay.
per square foot. It's very simple. So
Easy.
we're not trying to profit off of shipping. It's the trucking companies that drive that number. We just try to, make sure we can cover it and minimize the impact to your project as much as we can. But if we're shipping you a pallet or a truckload, it's going to be, 5 cents additional cost on a per square foot on a glue down product. And I mean, that's pretty straightforward. So you're ordering 100,000 square feet, you're going to have a nickel cost per square foot. There's your cost. So
Got it.
pretty simple.
Well, that's awesome. That's amazing. And then we don't have to worry about the colors changing and us getting out of season on something. So perfect. Well, very good. Well, as we wrap up here, it's so educational. Thank you so much for your time today. We look forward to continuing you guys being a partner with us many years to come. Our relationship started with one of my colleagues, Barbara Helsonic, that's in Atlanta.
She's awesome.
To meet. She's amazing. She's been part of probably 10, 15 years. I don't even know. So I'm excited to continue working with you guys, and I know she is as well. And so what are some final thoughts that you feel like the audience needs to know? And before you answer the final thoughts, what other projects do you guys do? Because multifamily is not the only project line. Maybe we have listeners out here that do own office space or whatever. Do you guys do other types of projects?
Yes, ma'am. So commercially, we can do just about anything. Our specialty is multifamily, or we use the term multi-unit. We don't really care if it's a townhome, right?
Yep.
We don't care if it's an apartment complex, student housing, assisted living. Even a whole a residential housing project that wants to go in and do color palettes. A lot of them do that these days. They'll have 3 or 4 color palettes. As long as it's we just don't like to do and really aren't geared to do the one-off, small box kind of things out the door. But student housing, assisted living centers, hospitalities, we do hotels, which we're really excited about the venture there. Besides the glue down plank and floating plank that we talked about, and I mentioned that we're working on a really unique laminate line right now. We are also do a product line that's plank and tile that's a loose lay. So it doesn't actually glue together. It's the tiles themselves are 36 inches by 36 inches. They look like stained concrete. So when you're doing clubhouses, commons areas, things like that, it's amazing.
We're wearing hair, right?
We've done quite a few small restaurants and stuff with them. As a matter of fact, if you go on our website, you can see some of those under the Instagrip. Like if you look at Instagrip tile, you'll see a couple of pictures there that are just fabulous with all the set up at the bar area of a restaurant and stuff. And so, we have the ability to do that. You wouldn't think that, like elevators. So there should be in one of those colors, you should be able to see some of the photos. Maybe just pick a particular color and see if one pops up. But so we have that ability too. Just about anything large commercial that you can think of. We've done work at like the Angel Stadium, I think in California, places like that. Yeah. So we have a lot of different products that we can do. And the other thing that we're really proud of is that, let's say you're doing something, you're running into an issue. We have all of the accessories, the stair treads, the stair nosing, the quarter rounds, all that stuff. We work very closely with that. There you go. There's one of them right there. That is a 36 by 36 inch vinyl tile. Now, what's the benefit of that? Think about this. If you are a restaurant owner or you're a clubhouse owner and you have damage to your floor, the last thing you want to do is call a company that has to put you on their schedule and they're going to charge you to come out and they're going to replace it. That product will come up off the floor in about 30 seconds. You can have your own crew put it back down and you're off and running. You have missed nothing. So, there's a lot of benefits to things like that.
I love that. The commercial space, that's amazing. Well, I love that you guys are expanding your products and your services and your markets and your territory. It's amazing. And just the final thoughts that you feel like that, from our group, We are primarily multifamily. I love that you shared, triple nets, anything else that you've got going on commercially and housing. But talk about just those final thoughts on how you guys feel like the connection and thoughts and maybe some insight as we move forward in our partnership.
That's a great question, because one of the things that's most detrimental to the process of what you do is having to come back later and have the expense of fixing and or replacing and or repairing things that you've already invested in. So we want to bring to the table the service and dependability and product quality at an affordable price, at a fair price, right? Like I said, it may be 3 or 4 or 5 cents more than you can find down the street, but what you're getting is the consistency, the control. We make it, we stand behind it, and then we have the partnerships that can put that in, who will stand behind their work as well. And whether you're doing it in Texas or you're doing it in California or you're doing it in Virginia is not the issue, and therefore it presents the peace of mind of knowing that investment that you made, and like I said, it may not be the cheapest, but it's going to be something you can depend on, and you'll know where to find us. I had a conversation just last week. Actually, yeah, it was last week, and it's a massive multifamily developer that's out of Ohio, and they're having this problem right now because they've done the first phase of a 3-phase project, and the company that started doing it for them has suddenly decided they don't want to do it anymore because they were so aggressive at trying to get the material in there, and now they can't get it for the price they were paying. Obviously, my guess is they're probably not making any money, so they've walked away from the project, and now the project is left trying to fill the void of not having that, and that's a disaster.
Right.
Jana, I can't tell you. I know people can say all the time, "Hey, we're this, we're that." We really are a company that picks up the phone when you call. If I had my cell phone on me right now, I could call the CEO and put him on this call, and he would answer and talk to us just like he's known you for 100 years. And that's the beautiful thing of it. We want to partner with you. We want to be important to you. We want to be relevant to your business and where it's going. And then once you've invested in that property and you're turning it, I would assume at some point in the future, that next owner can depend on the fact that we'll still be here and be available to them to be able to service that project after you're gone and moving on to the next one that we're working on together. So that's really important process of it. And honestly, your people have to decide if that's important to them. So we can bring you the product. We can network you with the right installers. We can offer you the color options that you want. It's your decision. And if that's important to you and exciting to you, then we'd love to be a part of it.
That's so great. And I know that when we go into these assets and we're figuring out our CapEx budget, just if we know the numbers, we can budget that in. So it's really not a cost problem. It's about planning. It's about planning and making sure that we're all on the same page. And I love, Michael, that you guys are trusted partners with us that people can trust. And, when it comes to surfaces, needs there, you guys have us. You are the Chick-fil-A in this industry. So I appreciate that so much. Thank you for your time. And how can they contact you? We're going to have it all here that's part of the easy. They can click and see, but go ahead and give them how they can reach you guys.
Well, obviously you can email me at any point in time, but on our website is our corporate office number, right? There's Urban Services right there. M Caldwell at urbanservices.com. I'll answer questions for you or put you in touch with people. The great thing is we don't believe in boundaries. So I don't care where you are. There you go. There's our office in Corona. And if you ever want to go by there and just see our showroom and all, I can set that up for you and arrange a tour, which is great. But we'll be available. We'll be available to answer questions. We want to point you in the right direction. If you need a sample book or something, it's M Caldwell, Caldwell at urbanservices.com. Send me an email and I can get you some samples out. Or our architectural books are really small and unique. But if you just want a particular color, like I said, go to the website, click on that color. when that picture comes up, hit that little green box, put your information in, they'll send it directly to you.
That's cool. Getting samples. I love it. Well, thank you, Michael. And we look forward to seeing you here in the near future. Appreciate it.
Well, I want to say this: if the team you're working with around the country is as energetic and enthusiastic everywhere as they were in Dallas, what a pleasure it must be to work with all those people. And we're excited about the opportunity. And please know that we're here to help in any way we can. And thank you so much for the time and attention today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too.